When the clerk called my company's name, my mother squeezed my father's hand like she was watching an execution. They were seated behind my brother, Cameron, close enough for the judge to notice, but far enough to pretend neutrality. My mother kept her eyes lowered, lips pressed together in practiced concern. My father stared straight ahead, jaw locked, the same look he wore whenever someone disappointed him publicly. Cameron stood confidently at the petitioner's table. Adjusting his cufflinks like this was another board meeting he expected to dominate. I stood alone on the other side of the courtroom. No greeting, no nod, no acknowledgement that I was family. Just a quiet understanding that today was supposed to be the day I finally paid for embarrassing them. The petition Cameron filed accused my company, North Star Secure Solutions, of insolvency, breach of repayment, and financial misrepresentation. According to his filing, I had taken a private loan from him years earlier and defaulted, placing my company at risk and my employees in danger. It was written cleanly, professionally, and entirely false. The judge, Alana Whitmore, scanned the opening documents with an expression that revealed nothing. She had the kind of stillness that made people nervous. Cameron mistook it for agreement. "Your Honor," Cameron began, "my sister refused multiple attempts to resolve this privately. This filing is about protecting creditors and preventing further damage." He did not look at me once. My attorney, Serena Caldwell, leaned in slightly. "Let him talk," she whispered. "He wants the room." North Star was not failing. It was not unstable. It was weeks away from implementing a federal cybersecurity deployment contract that would change everything. That contract was the reason we were here. 8 years earlier, when I left my father's consulting firm to start North Star out of a rented storage unit, Cameron laughed. He said security software was boring, that no one paid serious money for invisible work, that I should have stayed where the family name mattered. So I stopped using it. North Star grew quietly. We focused on intrusion prevention for encrypted communication systems. No flashy press, no interviews, just results. Clients came by referral. Federal agencies noticed. The contract offer arrived 6 weeks ago. 3 weeks later, Cameron filed this petition. Judge Whitmore paused mid-page. Her pen hovered. She glanced at the case file again, then typed something into her terminal. Her posture changed, subtle but unmistakable. She looked up. "Counsel," she said, "confirm for the record. North Star Secure Solutions, registered in Maryland." "Yes, Your Honor," Cameron's lawyer replied. "Founded 9 years ago, 8 and change," Cameron said quickly. Judge Whitmore did not look at him. She stared at the screen, then at me. "We will recess for 20 minutes," she said. "Both parties will prepare complete supporting documentation." Complete. I strongly suggest accuracy. The gavel came down. The room erupted into whispers. Cameron turned sharply to his attorney. "What is this?" he hissed. Serena calmly opened the first box at our table. Inside were audited financials, payroll records, client letters, and the federal contract summary, redacted but unmistakable. Beneath that was the forensic report. Cameron's documents had been created 12 days ago. The signatures were digitally assembled. The repayment account did not exist. During the recess, my mother approached for the first time in years. "Natalie," she said softly, as if the courtroom were a church. "This has gone far enough." I looked at her. At the woman who once told me not to argue with my brother because it made him angry. "You came here to end my company," I said. "Not to talk." Her face tightened. "Cameron made a mistake," she said. "No," I replied. "He made a plan." Judge Whitmore returned exactly on time. "I have reviewed preliminary materials," she said, "and I have questions." She turned to Cameron's lawyer. "Why would a company with active federal security clearance, positive cash flow, and no outstanding liens be subject to an emergency bankruptcy filing?" The silence stretched. Serena stood. "Your Honor, the petitioner submitted forged documents. We are prepared to prove it." Judge Whitmore nodded slowly. "Then please do." Cameron finally looked at me. For the first time that morning, his confidence slipped. Judge Whitmore listened without interruption as Serena laid the foundation slowly, deliberately, like she was teaching a class instead of arguing a case. She began with the basics. North Star's incorporation records, our tax filings, payroll deposits going back years. Then she moved to the contract pipeline, explaining how federal cybersecurity vendors are vetted, cleared, and continuously audited. Nothing about our company matched the picture Cameron had painted. Then she shifted. "These are the petitioner's loan documents," Serena said, holding up a thin stack. "On the surface, they appear standard, but they are not." She passed copies to the clerk and the judge. "The repayment account listed does not belong to either party. The bank routing number is invalid, and the document's metadata shows they were created less than 2 weeks ago, not 8 years ago as claimed." Cameron shook his head. "That's not true. I had an assistant handle the paperwork." Judge Whitmore raised a finger. "You will not interrupt counsel, Mr. Hart." Serena continued. "We hired an independent forensic examiner. The signature attributed to my client was lifted from a scanned conference, badge image, and digitally layered. The repayment schedule uses a template downloaded from a public legal forms website, and the financial statements included projections that do not align with any accounting method recognized in this jurisdiction." The judge leaned back slightly. "Mr. Hart," she said, "did you personally verify these documents before filing?" Cameron swallowed. "I trusted my information. That is not an answer." He looked toward my parents. My mother would not meet his eyes now. My father stared at the bench, his face flushed. Judge Whitmore turned to me. "Miss Reyes, do you assert that you have never borrowed funds from the petitioner in any form?" "Never," I said. "Not personally, not professionally. He has never invested in North Star. He has never had access to our accounts. He has never been authorized to speak for us. And why do you believe this petition was filed?" I paused. "Because my company's success contradicts the story my family tells about me." The judge studied me carefully. "Explain." "I built North Star quietly. I stopped attending family events years ago. I stopped correcting them when they said I had failed. My brother believed that if my company disappeared, the narrative would be restored, that he would still be right." Cameron slammed his hand on the table. "This is ridiculous. She always plays the victim." Judge Whitmore's voice hardened. "One more interruption and I will hold you in contempt." She turned back to Serena. "Proceed." Serena nodded. "Your Honor, there is another issue. 2 weeks before this filing, an anonymous complaint was submitted to the Federal Procurement Office questioning North Star's financial stability. It used language nearly identical to this petition." Judge Whitmore lifted her eyebrows. "That complaint delayed our contract activation by 10 days, Serena continued. "Enough time to file this petition and create the appearance of legitimacy." The judge looked directly at Cameron. "Did you submit that complaint?" Cameron hesitated. "I was concerned." Concern does not justify fraud. The courtroom felt smaller now. The audience leaned forward. Hannah Park, the reporter, scribbled furiously. Judge Whitmore removed her glasses. "Mr. Hart, filing a false bankruptcy petition is not a family dispute. It is a federal offense. Attempting to interfere with a company under active federal review carries additional consequences." Cameron's voice cracked. "She ruined this family first. That was when my father stood." "Your Honor," he said quickly, "if there has been a misunderstanding, we can resolve this privately." Judge Whitmore fixed him with a cold stare. "Sir, your family brought this into my courtroom. We will resolve it here." She turned back to the file. "I am dismissing this petition with prejudice, effective immediately." Cameron exhaled sharply, relief flashing across his face. "But I am not finished," the judge said. She addressed the clerk. "Refer this matter to the U.S. Attorney's Office for review of potential fraud, perjury, and abuse of process." The relief vanished. Cameron whispered, "No, wait." Judge Whitmore looked at me one final time. "Miss Reyes, I will ensure the record reflects that your company was targeted through fraudulent filings. This court will not be used as a weapon against legitimate businesses." "Thank you, Your Honor." The gavel struck. As officers approached Cameron, my parents finally looked at me, not with anger, with fear. And that was when I understood something they did not yet realize. This was not the end of the damage, it was the beginning. The hallway outside the courtroom filled with noise the moment the doors opened. Lawyers spoke in low, urgent tones. Court officers guided Cameron toward a side corridor while his attorney followed, pale and silent. Reporters clustered near the exit, voices overlapping, already shaping headlines. My parents stood frozen. For the first time in my life, they did not know what to say. My father found his voice first. "Natalie, this has gone far enough." I turned to face him. "You came here to erase my company," I said. "You just failed in public." My mother stepped forward, eyes glassy. "We thought you were struggling. Cameron told us you were in trouble. You believed him because it was easier than believing you were wrong about me." That landed harder than anything the judge had said. I walked away before they could respond. Outside, Serena handed me my phone. Messages were already coming in from my team. The procurement office had lifted the temporary hold. Implementation would proceed as scheduled, but the relief did not feel clean. 3 days later, federal investigators contacted us. Cameron had tried to negotiate, claiming emotional distress and family conflict. It did not matter. The digital trail was airtight. He had submitted the false complaint himself. He had instructed the document creation. He had signed under penalty of perjury. The charges followed quickly. My father used every connection he had to contain the fallout. It worked partially. Cameron avoided a trial. He pled guilty. He served time. He lost his position. The family brand survived, but diminished. North Star did not celebrate. Instead, I gathered my leadership team and told them the truth. That the threat had come from inside my own family. That I had protected the company, but not without cost. Then I made a decision no one expected. I stepped down as sole CEO. I stayed on as chair and technical director, but I handed daily operations to Miles. Investors questioned it. Reporters speculated. But my people understood. I was done building something just to prove others wrong. Months later, Hannah Park's article ran. It focused less on the family drama and more on how fragile success can be when trust is weaponized. The piece went viral. My parents sent letters, apologies wrapped in explanations. I did not answer. I bought a small house near the water. Quiet, ordinary. Mine. One evening, my daughter slept against my chest as I watched the lights flicker across the bay. I thought about legacy, about what survives when noise fades. I whispered to her the truth my parents never learned. Family is not who watches you fall, it is who refuses to push. North Star continues to grow, stronger, calmer, protected. They tried to bury me in court. Instead, they exposed themselves.